Hello, everybody, and welcome to another community
First of all, Mayor,
conversation.
thank you very much for giving me the opportunity.
Facebook Live.
That's one portion of the
We serve the many purpose development.
that I've met has that passion.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Community Conversations right here on Facebook Live. I'm Mayor Eric Pappenfuss. It's good to see you. Today's topic is ArtsFest, coming up here in Harrisburg, May 29th through the 31st. It's going to be a terrific event, and we've got a lot of guests here to tell you all you could possibly want to know about ArtsFest. We're also going to end the show today with a pre-recorded interview I did with Yale professor Elizabeth Hinton, author of the brand new book, America on Fire. You're going to want to listen to that. It's got a lot of great information about Harrisburg in it, and she's launching her book with her book release coming up this Tuesday, Election Day. We also are having a conversation with our friends at Penny about health insurance, a timely topic because if you haven't checked on health insurance in a while, the American Rescue Plan has made it even less expensive, and there are a lot of great options out there, and we're going to learn more about health insurance on today's show. But I want to begin, as always, with a few general announcements for the public, and we'll start with our BioBot data for the week. And if you're a regular watcher of this show, you know that every week we've been tracing the prevalence of coronavirus in the city's wastewater system through regular testing. And I'm pleased to report that we are down again. And if you look at the general trend on the graph on your screen, you'll see that we are exactly where we want to be. I think it can only be explained by the vaccine working and by a lot of hard work on many different individuals' parts. We're still not quite back to where we were last fall before the spike of the winter, but we're down to a 0.05% incidence rate, which is basically an estimate of about 65 new cases of COVID a day in the Harrisburg Metropolitan Capital Region water area. Not too bad. We're slightly ahead of the median nationwide sample average for the past 6 weeks, but we're way down from where we were, so we want to continue the good news. We also had a little bit of a celebration this past week on Wednesday. UPMC, at least for the South Central region, gave their 100,000th COVID vaccine, and it was done right in our very own hack parking lot to a drive-through customer. We're really pleased about that. The vaccine distribution is continuing to go well. There's lots of availability. So if you haven't gotten your vaccine, please do. It is safe and effective, and it's the best way to get us where we want to go. And if you saw, the CDC has relaxed its mask mandate, actually showing some of the benefits of being vaccinated, arguing that vaccinated people will not have to wear a mask outdoors, whereas if you're unvaccinated, you will. So please get vaccinated. Lots of opportunities. We're doing well, but we got to keep moving so we can get to that sort of critical herd immunity. So that's the health news from BioBot. We also had a busy week this past week in that we did a number of groundbreakings and ribbon cuttings for some transportation projects around town. And if you've been driving through Harrisburg, boy, I guess you've seen construction on 7th Street and on 2nd Street and a lot of infrastructure. Well, we cut the ribbon for a new ADA accessible sidewalk and bus stop down near the Capitol complex that was just completed. That was a big deal. It's right near the State Museum and the EV charging stations that were put in recently. And it used to be it's an area, high traffic area that for whatever reason had people walking in the road because there wasn't a proper sidewalk. That's been corrected, and we also, this past week, had our groundbreaking for the start of the year-long 2nd Street multimodal project. That's the two-way conversion that's replacing well over 120 ADA ramps, putting in new mini roundabouts, making it safer. All these projects are part of our Vision Zero program for the city, which aims to eliminate traffic-related fatalities in Harrisburg. So that's exciting. It's been announced, and it's clear that the street will remain open. You'll continue to see the occasional one-lane or maybe even two-lane closure on 2nd Street as you're traveling, but at least through the summer it will remain open. The actual paving and two-way conversion will take place next year, about the same time that we complete the 7th Street project, which is currently taking out those parking spaces in the middle of the road out in front of FIA, adding a new cycle track and a few other things. We also announced this past week that bids are out for the Mulder Square multimodal project as well as the Allison Hill paving project. All of these projects are happening this year with a number of other things continuing, including the transformation of State Street into a much safer street than it currently is, with shorter crossing distances, new crosswalks, and a whole bunch of improvements. So a lot of transportation, over $10 million worth of paving and transportation projects going on in Harrisburg as we speak. Want to let people know that this week there will be, well, this coming week, there will be no city council meeting. I think that's in honor of Election Day. So May 18th, both Election Day here in the city of Harrisburg and the book release for Elizabeth Hinton's America on Fire. So a good day, and I hope people will get out and vote. All right, today, as I say, our main topic is ArtsFest, but before we get to that, wanted to invite our friends at Penny to come on and talk about discounted health insurance programs that are available right here in Pennsylvania. I last met up with Penny at a vaccine clinic that was being put on at the Camp Curtin YMCA. They're doing a lot of great outreach and good work in the community. And I want to introduce Zachary Sherman, who is the executive director of Penny. And Zachary, you can tell us a little bit more. Let's start with the basics. Hey, what is Penny?
Well, thank you, Mayor, and thank you to the city for giving us a little bit of time to tell you about Penny. And as you mentioned, I'm Zach Sherman. I'm the executive director of Penny, and Penny is the Commonwealth's new health insurance marketplace. It's the place where people who don't have coverage through their employer or people who are uninsured can go and access affordable, high-quality health insurance plans, as well as financial assistance to reduce the cost of coverage and in some cases, the cost of care as well.
Yeah, it's terrific. Now, I know that there's a lot of talk about this American Rescue Plan. I've already referenced it here today. For the city of Harrisburg, for the first time, it represents a direct allocation to a city of a magnitude of $48 million, an extraordinary amount of money, which is going to do a lot of good. We talked just this past week with the former mayor of Stockton, California, about a proposal for a guaranteed income program in the city of Harrisburg. There's a lot of eligible uses and certainly a lot of need in Harrisburg. But when it comes to health insurance, how is the American Rescue Plan sort of making changes to your industry?
That's great. I didn't know about those benefits as a result of American Rescue for the city, so that's so great to hear. As you mentioned, there are considerable benefits available as a result of American Rescue Plan through Penny, including the fact that the financial assistance that we provide to reduce the cost of health insurance is increasing at every level of income through Penny right now, effective right now. Customers who previously were ineligible because they made too much money or their income was above about $51,000 for an individual or above $105,000 for a family of four, they were ineligible for financial assistance. Now through Penny, those families will pay no more than 8.5% of their household income towards the cost of our benchmark plan. The financial savings are very significant. It's a really big impact. We rolled out these changes just last month, and we've already seen over 30,000 people come in and take advantage of them. And the numbers are really, really impressive. They're really striking right now. About 32% of the customers who have come in since we rolled out these changes are paying less than $10 a month for their monthly premium. And about 45% of them are paying less than $50 a month. So there's considerable savings, and this is a really great opportunity for us to connect those who previously thought health insurance was out of their reach financially to quality coverage and quality access to health care.
Okay, that's great news. Now, I know a lot of people may have sampled the markets in the past, just determined it was still too expensive. What you're basically saying is that there's an influx of subsidy here, which is really focused on making these plans affordable for individuals that are, scraping by and doing their best, but have a lot of expenses. This is really good news. So. Can you talk just generally about things to think about when selecting a health insurance plan?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. You should think about you know uh, the things that are important to your specific health needs when accessing care. So, um, who are your doctors? What are your providers? What are the different types of prescriptions you might use? What ongoing conditions you might have? All of the plans available through Penny cover a set standard of benefits. They're called the essential health benefits. So all of the insurance products are comprehensive. You cannot be denied coverage, access to coverage if you have a pre-existing condition. You cannot be denied the ability to renew into coverage if you experience a pre-existing condition. So all of the plans are comprehensive. There's a considerable amount of financial assistance to make them affordable to you. And so at that point, it's just about what's the right product, the insurance product for your health needs. And we have a number of services and supports. We have online tools that allow you to navigate the process and filter the plans by what's most important to you. If it's your doctors, if it's your prescription drugs, if it's your monthly payment, if it's your total, in a bad year, what's the most you would have to pay out of pocket. We have tools that allow you to filter and sort. And we also have resources to help you go through the process. We have a dedicated call center. We also have partnerships with health centers and community-based organizations like the YMCA, where you were last week, Mayor. And those resources that are available to you are at no cost, and they can help you walk through the application process and help you get covered and into the right plan for you and your health needs. We know sometimes buying a plan can be overwhelming, can be confusing, and we are an unbiased resource to help you navigate that process.
Yeah, this is all great news. So, if I'm thinking about, if suddenly it occurs to me that, well, maybe I can now afford health insurance, I'm interested in getting into the market. What types of materials do I need to bring, and what's the best way to have you or anyone at Penny help calculate what the cost of this plan is going to be?
That's a great question. So we're set up in a way to try and be as accessible for people in the way that's most comfortable with them. So if you're tech savvy, online savvy, you can sign up, apply, and enroll online at penny.com. If you want to enroll, if you're not tech savvy and you want to go through the process over the phone, you can give us a call and we'll walk you soup to nuts all the way through the application process to getting covered. We also, as I mentioned, have resources that can do one-on-one assistance. Assisters and licensed insurance brokers uh, can help you through the process, and we can get you connected to them as well. In terms of information you need to access the financial assistance, we need to, there's a few uh, eligibility criteria that we need to run through. You need to be a resident of the state. You need to be lawfully present in the country, or a citizen or a U.S. national. And we need to know a little bit about your income information. So be prepared with any sort of information related to that criteria. Be prepared to produce information around your annual income. Sometimes we may need you to provide documentation around your income. So having a couple pay stubs readily available would be helpful. And but the application process is simple. You answer a few questions, you provide us with the information we need. We'll run you through the eligibility determination process, show you how much financial assistance you're available you can access, and then from there, it's just find the right plan for your health needs, your budget, and get covered.
Great. When will we see you guys out next in the community in Harrisburg? You got any upcoming events you can discuss?
I should have that information on my fingertips, but I don't. We are doing a number of events, each and every week across the Commonwealth. We were in Harrisburg last week. I know we'll swing through again, and I'll follow up with that information, Mayor.
Yeah, I know you're coming back to a variety of different events and things going on, so people can take a look out, and we can post that online if you get back to us after the fact. And again, I think let's just end with what you started with at the beginning. The good news, which is that you're seeing plans for as little as how much per month?
We're seeing people right now being eligible to enroll in plans as low as $0 a month. And the people signing up right now, about 33% of them are paying less than $10 a month. 45% are paying less than $50 a month. The financial savings are significant. And I'll just offer that you can sign up right now. You are available and eligible to sign up right now. If you enroll in coverage today, you'll be covered effective June 1st.
Okay, that's incredible. The costs have really, really gone down. So I'm going to encourage everybody to check it out. Even if you did in the past, check it out again. And this is a great asset, especially as we're focusing on a healthy Harrisburg and a healthy Pennsylvania as we move out of COVID and the current health emergency. So thank you, Zachary. Thanks for being here. We are going to switch next to a discussion, our main discussion for the day, and that is ArtsFest. Yay! We are so pleased to welcome back ArtsFest and have our artisans and food trucks coming back to Harrisburg, starting this Saturday, May 29th, and rolling through Monday, May 31st. All activities this year are going to be held on City Island. It's going to have a nice area where you can spread out and you can be socially distant. We will have designated entrance and exit points. The festival hours are going to be Saturday and Sunday from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. and Monday from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. And this year's ArtsFest will provide a hybrid guest experience with in-person artisans, food trucks, specialty food vendors. Virtual offerings include an online artisan marketplace, demonstrational videos, a series of films to stream online, all courtesy of Film Fest, and more. More that we're going to learn about right now. So we've got a number of great guests today, but I want to start with Pam Bartle, and she is the owner of Jessamy Handwovens. And Pam, one of the things we're celebrating is the return of artists in person this year. So what can we expect to see from the artisan perspective at this year's ArtsFest?
First of all, you're going to have a lot of very, very happy.
Yeah.
We've missed you all. Can you hear me?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
Wonderful. There's going to be more than 100 juried artisans, and juried means we've been selected to be there at the show by your director of it. We just don't pay our money and show up. We had to be chosen for the quality of our work. We're going to be offering handmade wares in 16 categories. There's going to be ceramics, pottery, drawing, fiber, which means both decorative and wearable, furniture, glass, jewelry, leather, metal, mixed media, photography, printmaking, sculpture, and wood. All sorts of wonderful goodies for you to bring home. And if you're unable to attend the in-person events, there is an online marketplace that will be available to shop the works. In addition, throughout the weekend, there will be artisan demonstrations and virtual presentations both on the Facebook event and at the website at harrisburg.pa.gov/ArtFest. And while visiting the artisans, you can also take a life-size ArtFest marquee photo op with a scenic backdrop of the Susquehanna River. And you can share the photos with us using hashtag ArtsFest HBG. I lost that there, sorry.
Nope.
All right.
No, that's okay. You're right. It's hashtag ArtsFestHBG. But listen, we are so glad to have the artisans back and in person on City Island. But there's also this great hybrid experience. You can shop virtually, you can make connections in person, and then translate that into into regular shopping and support online. And I know, like many small business entrepreneurs, it's been a difficult year, and it's going to be really good to be back out there and helping seeing people in person and engaging in meaningful commerce. that is really welcomed as we emerge from COVID. So, but Pam, tell us a little bit about Jessamy Handwovens, and I'd like to know a little bit more about what you do and how you could create your pieces.
I'm one of a very special group of people. I've been doing the art show scene for more than 37 years, marketing my handwoven cotton clothing. So a number of us enjoy coming out and meeting our clients in person. One thing I have said is that not all artists are dead. And when people come to ArtsFest, they get to meet the people, the hands that create what they are seeing, what they are bringing home. And there's a Japanese basket maker that has a quote that basically says the object connects the hands, the hearts of the maker with the ones that use it, which to me is very important, knowing that people wear my clothing and enjoy wearing my clothing. I'm going to stand up briefly wearing one of my capelets. This is hand woven in cotton with pockets, and it's designed to take the place of a shawl. My friend Pam Nelson has the camera, and she's going to come around. I'm sitting at the loom. This is literally woven by hand, like in the 17th century. The loom is, just have to flip her down this way. That's good. The loom is a very simple machine and complex. It takes about 6 hours to set it up with 500 threads, 45 yards long, 50 inches wide. Yarn is wound on the back. It's brought through the harnesses, threaded through the reed, tied on in the front. We wind the bobbins by hand on a machine, and then they get put into this device, which is called a boat shuttle. When I push the pedals, they lift these harnesses, where right now I'm lifting all the 1 and 3 threads, and I'm going to take this shuttle, throw it across. And I'm going to lift the 2 and 4 threads. And we're going to row it across. By lifting and throwing the shuttle back and forth, the web forms. It takes 10 throws of the shuttle per inch to create 10 throws of the shuttle per inch to create an inch of fabric. 360 times to do 1 yard. A garment can take maybe 1.5 yards to 2 yards. So the other aspect of playing with it is, if I lift harnesses 1 and 2, then I lift 2 and 3, then I lift 3 and 4, then I lift 1 and 4. You can see there is a diagonal line happening. If I reverse that, if I go backwards, 4, 3, in the same one. And there are times, if you're not paying total attention, you will make mistakes, which I just did. Okay, we're gonna pedal again. And here, you'll have the reverse. Okay. It takes time to weave. After a piece is woven, it's then cut off the loom. It has to be washed, dried, pressed, then it's cut, and then it's constructed. So every piece that my studio makes was designed to be that piece specifically. And we custom size petites and smalls to plus. It's all machine washable, hand woven cotton. And I do tops and tunics, etc. I have to say that a number of my friends are very excited about going to be in Harrisburg in person. We enjoy the market. We enjoy the Harrisburg people. So we are looking forward to seeing you all.
Oh, thank you, Pam, and we're looking forward to seeing you. And what a great demonstration! I'd love to see the technology and how it works. So tell us about how long did it take you, for instance, to make the lovely outfit that you are currently wearing?
The Cape Lanier, as I said, it takes 6 hours to dress the loom.
6.
Six.
With
Okay.
500 threads.
Yep.
45 yards. It takes 10 throws of the shuttle, and then it has to be woven and cut and sewed. So therefore, several hours to do one piece.
More than several, I would think. I'm trying to add that up, but it's a lot of work. And you make will you make items to order then? So if I'm visiting you at ArtsFest, and I see something I like, but maybe it's not in the right size, is that how it works? I can order?
Oh yeah, if I don't have your size in color in the piece that you need, we write an order. I have often said if I knew exactly who was going to come into my booth and buy exactly what they were going to want, I'd go play the stock market. So we do a lot of orders in order to make people happy. As I said, I've been doing this full time for 37 years, and we have a lot of happy people out there wearing my clothes. And hand-woven clothing lasts a long time. I've seen pieces of mine that have been maybe 20 years old. The nice thing about anything made by hand is that you know it's quality, and it has a long life, a long useful life.
Yeah, that's right. And making it therefore more sustainable and just quality. Well, look forward to seeing you, Pam, at ArtsFest and seeing other artisans like yourself. And glad we were able to do the demo and learn a little bit more about Jessamy Handwoven. So thanks. We are next going to go to Mary Ingram, co-founder of the Harrisburg Flea. Oh, I am so glad that you and your vendors are going to be back as a part of Harrisburg Flea at ArtsFest. So, really, same question to you, Mary. What can we expect to see, and what vendors will be there? Tell us more about Harrisburg Flea.
Absolutely. And first, can I say, what an amazing demonstration from Pam. You make such gorgeous work. But likewise, the Flea is thrilled to be back to give our incredible local artists and artisans an opportunity to be a part of this event. So we will feature 30 juried local artists and artisans who are also working in a variety of media, from handmade crystal jewelry to hand-dyed fabrics and pottery and everything in between. And all of those artists are working and living right here in central Pennsylvania. Many are actually live right in the city of Harrisburg. So if you visit the Flea Artists, which will be located in the Carousel Pavilion across from the City Island train station, you will be able to see all of the incredible artistic talent that we have right here in our backyard.
Yeah, that's great. Now the Carousel Pavilion, folks know where that is. That's sort of premier space there, right in the shadows of the stadium on City Island. Would you like to highlight one or two of those Harrisburg-based vendors that are going to be a part?
Oh, absolutely. So we have, for instance, Justin Ward Photography, who will be there. He takes the most incredible photos of the Harrisburg area. I love seeing, my hometown through the lens of his camera, because he really captures the spirit of Harrisburg. He has some beautiful shots of the bridges, for instance, which are very popular. Everybody loves the bridges. And then we will also have a new vendor, Chingla, who does traditional Peruvian embroidery. So she does beautiful like t-shirts that have little pockets, and also does wonderful work on larger pieces as well, that you can see like a fully embroidered piece of clothing that is sort of a piece of wearable art. And we're really thrilled to have her, because she recently moved to the Harrisburg area, and so she's participated in a few of our events in the past, but has really loved getting to know the Harrisburg area, and our shoppers have really appreciated seeing like her beautiful work, and also just learning about her and her personal story, which is pretty amazing. So if you do come, definitely check out them, and also everyone. With just 30 artists, it was incredibly difficult to pick our favorites. It is like choosing your favorite child. It's almost impossible to jury these kinds of smaller events, but every single one of our artists that are attending are, represent a different facet of the incredible breadth of work that we have here in the Central PA area. And we also have some artists that are rotating day to day. So we were able to facilitate it such that if folks could only make it one day, that we would find others to fill in those spots. So if you are around that weekend, definitely check back multiple times, because you may see a different artist Friday than you will Sunday.
Oh, great. Yeah, that's good to know. Incentive to come back again and again over the course of the weekend. And okay, and just as a final question, Mary, obviously we're going to check you out at ArtsFest, and there's going to be a lot of great interactivity there. But what's the future of the Harrisburg Flea as we look forward beyond ArtsFest?
Yeah, so the Flea has been operating on the first Saturday of every month, almost consistently for the past 5 years. So obviously we are just returning back from taking a hiatus because of the pandemic, and all of our artists and artisans are thrilled to be able to be out and talk to people in the community once again. So right now our markets are back on the first Saturday of the month in the Midtown Cinema parking lot. We run from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. We are socially distanced, so we place all of our vendors 10 feet apart from each other. And it's been a great experience to be back. Actually, the weekend after ArtsFest is our June Flea, so you'll be able to see even more artists that were not a part of ArtsFest that month. We've been trying very hard to make sure that each month we have a different group of vendors, just because we have so much interest and so little space given the social distance of our markets. We had over 70 applications and had to narrow that down to 24 artists for the June event. So definitely check that out for a continuation of the Flea. And it means so much to these local artists and artisans for people to, shop local and support them, rather than going to a big box store. When you shop locally, your dollars stay in the community so much more than if you were to go to, a Target to get your, newest t-shirt or whatever. So definitely check us out. We're on Facebook and Instagram, where you can see previews for all of our artists' work as well.
All right. Thank you, Mary. Thanks for all that you do to support artists and artisans here in Harrisburg and Central Pennsylvania. We are thrilled that you will be a part of this year's ArtsFest, and I look forward to seeing you over the weekend. So next, we are going to go to, I'd like to introduce Elizabeth Ritter. She is the Vice President of Operations for UPMC. UPMC is a constant sponsor for us, and just wanted to let folks know that this year Kids Fest is going to be paused, but I think it's probably better to say that it's being transformed. And it's being transformed because we have take-home kits that are sponsored by UPMC, and that will be available. And so let's start with that, Elizabeth. What can you tell me about these art kits, which will be available for families and kids to take home if they come visit us at ArtsFest?
Thanks for having me, Mayor. As the mayor said, Kids Fest will be paused for the 2021 event, but free take-home kits filled with art-centric activities will be available for families to pick up at ArtsFest and enjoy at home. The kits will include a blank canvas, acrylic paint, a paintbrush, custom ArtsFest coloring page, crayons, scratch art, bookmarks, and more. Family-friendly activities will also be available in City Island. Play around in mini golf or visit the Harbortown Play Ride. Take a ride aboard the City Island Railroad.
Yeah, who doesn't want a free take-home kit with a blank canvas, paintbrushes, crayons, and all of that? That's a wonderful thing which you're doing, and it's a great way to hopefully families with children will come to ArtsFest. They'll be inspired by all these incredible artisans and what they're doing, and they'll want to go home and they'll want to be creative, and they will have an opportunity to do that thanks to UPMC and these great take-home art kits. And again, so much to do for families already on City Island with the playground and mini golf. It's going to be a beautiful day and a fun day for everyone. Now, I want you to talk a little bit about the health and safety modifications that we are making for this year's Arts Fest. But before you do, I want to say that we were given some new news from the CDC yesterday. So, which basically says that vaccinated individuals are no longer required to wear a mask when outdoors, even at an event like Arts Fest. So we've modified it slightly for this year's Arts Fest to say that masks are recommended, strongly recommended for everyone, subsection required for those who haven't been vaccinated. But I think we still have, we still, out of an abundance of caution, would highly recommend that everyone does consider wearing a mask. It's just going to make the event go safely and smoothly. But with that, why don't you talk a little bit about some of the other things that we're doing to assure health and safety and make sure that people have a great event?
Thank you. So like everything in the global pandemic, we're working through the recommendations and the changes as quickly as we can, and we're happy to support this in any way. So we ask everyone to be responsible with their health and safety practices. Like the mayor said, we're recommending masks for anyone over the age of 2, and we're asking you to wear a mask if you have not been vaccinated. We suggest you wash your hands as often as you can. We're asking that you wash with soap and water for 20 seconds. If you don't have access to a sink with soap and water, hand sanitizer that contains at least 60% alcohol can be substituted. Staff will regularly clean picnic tables, and no trash cans and recycling bins will be available. The other thing we ask is that you continue to practice social distancing. As the mayor said earlier in his presentation, there will be one point of entry and one exit to the festival area on City Island to monitor capacity. All foot traffic will flow one way around the island to limit cross traffic. And we're asking all individuals to please follow the traffic pattern accordingly. Additionally, one group is permitted in a 10 by 10 artisan tent at a time, and there will be 10 feet of space between all artisans. There will be marks placed on the ground 6 feet apart for the food trucks for line formation. So we ask all attendees to stand at these marks when in line to ensure social distancing. After you receive your food, please exit promptly.
Yeah, great. And probably a good moment to just give thanks to our whole team at the city, headed up by Megan Roby, our director, for all the thought and time and energy that's going into creating an experience here, which is going to be safe and fun for everyone, family friendly. We've managed to persevere even amidst a health emergency, having events and doing them safely, constantly reinventing ourselves and creating sort of hybrid experiences like we have now. And when that wouldn't have been possible without the support of our sponsors like UPMC. So thank you, again for making this possible. It's going to be a great weekend and a great event, and I hope people will come out and enjoy it and recognize that they can do it in a way which is going to be safe and they don't have to worry. So thanks for that. And we're next going to go and finally, last but not least, to our friend Devin Drabeck-Fry, who is the Communications and Marketing Director for Explore HBG, your one-stop shop for all information regarding the happenings that are going on in Harrisburg and the region. Devin, it is great to have you back, and I like the fact that for all these events we get to talk about food, because I'm planning to sample all the different culinary attractions at ArtsFest, and I bet you are too. So what can we expect in the way of delicious treats at this year's ArtsFest?
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Mayor. I do feel lucky that I get to talk about the most delicious part of the food. So now this year, more than 20 different food vendors will be available, serving delicious menu items, including stuffed pretzels, artisan hot dogs, lobster rolls, waffles, and a lot more. Festival favorites such as fried Oreos, farm show milkshakes, and funnel cakes will be available. And specialty food vendors will offer things like kettle corn, beef jerky, lots of baked goods, stroopies, candied nuts, fudge, and more. Now on City Island, there are some vendors including Water Golf and Cafe Huey that will offer a wide variety of menu items. So I encourage people when they're walking around the island to also support those businesses that are permanently there. And I want to quickly mention that in addition to the Arts Fest and City Island food vendors, Saturday Nights in the City has returned. And that's something that happens in downtown Harrisburg from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. It has expanded outdoor dining areas at some of your favorite city restaurants. So I encourage people to check out all the information about that at explorehbg.com. You can find out all the restaurants that are participating there, and be sure to reserve a seat for dining in the street on Saturday night.
Oh yeah, thanks for tying that in. Of course, Devin, it's a short walk over from City Island to the downtown. We've got Arts Fest going till about 7 o'clock on Saturday, but you can make your way if you want more afterwards to the downtown and make a reservation. Maybe come to Arts Fest for lunch, do your shopping, and then support a downtown restaurant for dinner and extend your day. So that's exciting. All that food made me hungry. You know my favorites because we've discussed it before. I'm looking forward to the Farm Show milkshakes and the kettle corn. What's a stroopy, Devin? Do you know? Because that sounds interesting.
Baked good. There's multiple layers in it, so I believe you can get different layers of filling inside. I've seen them actually at the farm show before. That was the first time I ever saw one, and they're made fresh. You can watch them make it there and kind of get them customized. So it's not a great description, but from what I understand, you can get so many different fillings inside of what's like a thin little pastry. So it can kind of be whatever flavors you want it to be.
Well, how can that be bad? That sounds delicious. I will definitely try a stroopy in your honor. What are you looking forward to sampling yourself, Devin?
My goodness. See, I got to pretty much fast the whole day before because I make up my mind. So that day I end up picking, like, if I can narrow it down to 6, I'll be impressed.
Okay, well, no, that is a wonderful thing. I've got 3 kids. We're all going to go, and they're all going to get something different because their tastes are different. But boy, you can't go wrong. I feel everything from the deep fried Oreos to the milkshakes to the stuffed pretzels is going to happen. Thanks, Devin. Thanks for letting us know. I hope everybody checks out Explore HBG. You can find more information there about all the happenings at the city of Harrisburg. And there is a lot going on and more starting each week as we move into the summer. We're going to wrap up our discussion here on ArtsFest by just a quick word about parking. I always get to talk about parking. Why? Because it's the public's #1 question. And that is just as you plan your visit, remember a few things, all right? First of all, on Saturday, if you're coming and you want to park at a meter, you can park for 4 hours for free if you use the Park mobile app. If you open the Park mobile app on a Saturday, there's a coupon code, LOVEHBG, LUVHBG, that you can click on, and that will allow you to park at a meter for 4 hours free. So take advantage of that. If you don't want to park at a meter, you can park on City Island, and you can just pay $5 to park on City Island, and you can just leave your car there, and that's a once and done. And if you'd like sheltered parking, well, there's a special, thanks to Park Harrisburg, at the Market Square parking garage. And it's just simply going to be $10, and you can stay all day. In fact, you can stay till 10 p.m. So again, if you want to go both to Arts Fest and dine downtown, you can do it all for one $10 bill. So we want to thank our friends at Park Harrisburg for doing that. Also, remember that the meters are not in effect on Sunday or Monday for the holiday. So on Saturday, you can use the coupon code, but on Sunday and Monday, you can park at a meter anywhere in the city, and you don't have to feed it. So let's take advantage of that. That's always good news. But as always, we want to encourage people to walk and consider riding a bike. Why not? Hop on that green belt, come down Riverfront Park, and if you come to City Island, we will have a free bike parking area, and it'll be maintained by our friends at Recycle Bicycle. You can even get a little work done on your bike while you're out shopping and sampling. It's a great idea. Now, you're not going to be able to take your bicycles into the festival, but you will be able to drop them off at the free bike parking area. For that matter, also, dogs are not permitted within the actual festival area, just as we're trying to manage crowds and everything else. So lots of ways to get to ArtsFest. We hope everybody will find the right transportation mode for them and come down and join us for Memorial Day weekend. It's going to be great. Again, these events could not be possible without sponsors. And as always, our title sponsor is Visit Hershey Harrisburg. They do a wonderful job, and our marketing sponsor is Explore HBG and our friends there. We have a gold sponsor in Green Mountain Energy. And as you know, our Kids Fest kit sponsor is UPMC. And again, that sounds like a great kit. Our hand washing station sponsor is Capital Blue Cross. Thank you to them. And we have community sponsors in the Downtown Improvement District, our friends of the DID, and our parking sponsor, of course, is Park Harrisburg. So I hope everyone will join us for a safe, family fun, outdoor, socially distant, amazing ArtsFest return to City Island in Harrisburg on May 29th through the 31st to shop and enjoy the talent and the creativity of all of our artisans in Harrisburg and the region. And with that, we're going to close it out, so to speak, with a pre-recorded interview. It's about 15 minutes with Yale professor Elizabeth Hinton. I cannot recommend her new book, America on Fire, more highly. She's a terrific historian. She studies the history of race and poverty in America. And again, her new book features rather prominently Harrisburg as part of the untold history of police violence and Black rebellion in America since the 1960s. I hope you enjoy this conversation with Elizabeth Hinton, and we will see you next time live on Facebook for Community Conversations. Thanks again. I'm Mayor Eric Pappenfuss. Enjoy the interview. All right, well, we are pleased to be joined today by Professor Elizabeth Hinton of Yale University, who is the author of the new book, America on Fire, The Untold History of Police Violence and Black Rebellion Since the 1960s. It's published by Liverlight, and if you enjoy this conversation today, I invite you all to the book launch. It will be a virtual book launch. We have the information there for you up on the screen, but it is happening this Tuesday, Election Day, at 6 p.m., sponsored by Haymarket Books. You can join for free. You can purchase a copy of the book if you want. You can even purchase a signed copy of the book, like I have right here. And since the book isn't out, I feel very lucky to have been able to obtain this advanced copy, which, as you can see, has been very well read. And Professor Hinton, it is such a pleasure to have you. Your book is so timely and so important because it puts in context many of the contemporary discussions we're having right here in Harrisburg and throughout the country about police reform, Black Lives Matter, systemic racism. But it does so in a historical way, rooting this in the history of rebellion, beginning in the late 60s and sort of coming all the way up to the present day. Wanted to have you on, and I thought I could start with just a brief story, which is that when we first moved to Harrisburg, my wife and I, we were looking for a place to locate the bookstore. And we went through a number of different properties in the city. I remember going through the one that we eventually chose with the former owner, and it was dark. The windows were all boarded up, and it was a bright sunny day outside. And we were going through the building looking at it, and I said, why are all the windows boarded up? And they said, oh, we boarded those up during the riots. I'm like, what riots? And they said, oh, the riots back in '68, and and of course this is 30 years later, and they're still boarded up. That business had left town, the building was abandoned, and we were pleased to rehab it and bring it back. But in some ways, it's a story about how things didn't change in the aftermath of the riots, and how that sort of runs contrary to the more optimistic narrative that our story of the civil rights movement and how it's led to progress. Your book tells a much different story, and let's just begin by letting you introduce the main concepts at play here in America on Fire.
Well, first, Mayor, I just want to thank you so much for inviting me to join you today. It's truly an honor to be in conversation with you, and exciting to know too, or I guess interesting that that the bookstore is also kind of a piece of this longer history of violent protests in Harrisburg and rebellion. And the book is really trying to get us to one, grapple with some of the shortcomings of the civil rights movement that didn't necessarily go far enough to securing some of the larger socioeconomic aims that were at the kind of center of the nonviolent protests that steered the civil rights movement throughout most of the 60s. And by the end of the 60s, in the context of continued mass unemployment and dilapidated housing and failing or exclusionary public schools, in the case of Harrisburg, the kind of seeds of the rebellion of 69 began in the school system when Black students demanded a more robust Black studies curriculum and the hiring of Black teachers. The book is trying to grapple with the prevalence of this political violence. Harrisburg joined in the kind of period after the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr., which signaled a real kind of turning point in terms of the politics of nonviolence within the mainstream movement, right? So Harrisburg was one of nearly 2,000 rebellions that occurred throughout the United States between 1968 and 1972. And so the book is asking serious questions that allows us to grapple and confront the political violence that rocks the nation during this period, and linking it to the similar socioeconomic demands of the civil rights movement. And part of this too, I'm pushing us to change the ways in which we view these acts of political violence. And one of the points that I really stress is that labeling these incidents as riots, which Lyndon Johnson did from like kind of the very first eruption in Harlem, 1964, doesn't take seriously the demands of the people who participated in these events, and instead labels them criminal and meaningless, so that the only response is not, the kind of root causes in employment issues and school systems and housing, and being kind of treated as first-class citizens in American society, but instead more police, which creates this kind of cycle of police violence and rebellion. And one of the things that we see playing out time and time again, and we see this very clearly in the eruptions in Harrisburg, is that police violence, the police response to this form of direct action protest, only ends up precipitating more community violence.
Yes, it is an important story. It's a timely story, and I have to say there's quite a lot about Harrisburg in the book, and it's not just Harrisburg. It's about sort of maybe previously overlooked stories of urban rebellion throughout the country, but in Harrisburg in particular, as you say, our story it began with a simple request among students to have more African American teachers, more Black studies in the curriculum, and it eventually led to the shooting of an unarmed young student in the back by a white Harrisburg police officer. Can you, whatever aspects of that you'd like to share with our viewers, can you talk a little bit about that? I think one of the interesting things about Harrisburg is it resulted in a lot of testimony before a human relations commission, and that's a part of our history that we need to know more about.
Yeah, so Harrisburg's history, I think, is really indicative and really important of similar developments that we see in thousands of other cities during this period, which is part of the reason why in the book, Harrisburg appears in 2 chapters, one on school rebellions and one on human relations commissions. In the tradition of the National Advisory Commission on Civil Disorders that Johnson convened during the Detroit Rebellion in 1967, which is known as the Kerner Commission. But the local commissions run by the Pennsylvania State Human Relations Commissions were really key and important. And the ones in Harrisburg were some of the most robust sets of hearings that any Human Relations Commission convened. And so I really wanted to highlight that in the book. So what's interesting, again, in terms of thinking about this cycle of police violence and community violence that I mentioned, when students from William Penn and Harris High, Black students came together in February 1969 and made all these demands for, as I mentioned, more Black studies courses and more Black teachers and just kind of a more inclusive school system. I mean, literally at this time, Black and white students were getting into brawls in the hallways of these schools. And the response on the part of school authorities was not, to their demands and to their protests and to the sit-ins that they held, was not to, sit down with them and let's try to figure this out initially, but it was to send in the police. And so the result of sending in the police led this school rebellion to kind of spill into the streets of Harrisburg. And it was a protracted struggle that lasted for a few weeks until finally the school system did concede to some of the students' demands. But it reflected a kind of simmering racial tension that the Human Relations Commission in Harrisburg actually recognized shortly after Martin Luther King's assassination, saying, unless the city intervenes to address some of the underlying causes of these racial tensions, Harrisburg is going to erupt. And then a year later, it erupted. And then a few months later, after the school rebellion in the summer of June 1969, after a woman who was brutalized, named Mary Yancey, who was brutalized by police when she was attempting to buy cigarettes from a grocery store in Allison Hill, came back with a sign that read, I was brutalized by the police. There was a group of about 50 to 100 young people kind of watching the protests, and the police responded by tear gassing the entire crowd, which then set off several days of rebellion that ended in the tragic death of a Harris High student named Charles Scott, who was shot 3 times in the back and died. The officer, Raymond Curtulis, who killed him, was absolved of all charges weeks later by a coroner's jury. So, again, I mean, this is a very familiar story that we see in the news all too frequently now. And of course, before, everybody had a cell phone in their pocket and these instances were captured virally, right? But, this is just a reminder that, what we saw in 2014 with Michael Brown and George Floyd has been happening for a very long time. And in response to Charles Scott's death and the rebellion itself, the Human Relations Commission came back and held a set of hearings and made a number of recommendations to address both, tensions between police officers in the community. So it recommended a more kind of like robust police community relations program and a number of structural changes to housing code regulations so that slumlords couldn't allow people to live in dilapidated housing, and increased integration of Harrisburg public schools, the establishment of a local human relations board, and many of these demands, I mean, very similar to the Kerner Commission case, right? And many other of these human relation commissions that came in and held hearings on the uprisings or rebellions after they occurred, never truly materialized. And so, this moment, this history represents a missed opportunity when we knew how to address many of the root causes and chose not to. And instead, again, what ends up getting embraced and supported and funded are police programs and surveillance programs and incarceration programs.
Yeah, thank you for that. And the history is fascinating. I, for one, did not realize that one of the recommendations that came out of the Human Relations Commission in Harrisburg was the creation of the city pools. Those pools are now 50 plus years old and past their useful life, and we've been, duct taping them to keep them going here. But it's something that did grow out of that, including the creation of additional parks and playgrounds in Harrisburg. But another aspect of it was that there was the establishment in Harrisburg of what they called literally a community relations division. And it was interesting to see the testimony of some of those officers before the commission basically saying that they weren't allowed to do their job. But I guess going against the concept of the thin blue line, which was that there was, sort of one universal voice for policing, you had some courageous officers basically saying, even at the time, we should have done things differently.
Yeah, so for one, thank you for highlighting that, Mayor. That is one of the successes of the 68 Human Relations Commission, is that, in response to the potential for unrest, the city did establish pools and recreation centers across Harrisburg, and to provide greater recreational access for Black youth in the city. And yeah, I mean, the story of the community relations division within the police department is tragic and really interesting too, because that was another one of the things, of the elements of recommendations from the 68 hearings that got implemented. But unfortunately, the Harrisburg Police Department didn't truly embrace the principles behind that division, which involved officers, being more a direct part of the community and getting to know residents, and not the typical kind of heavy-handed response. But when that incident with Mary Yancey occurred, instead of calling first the officers from this division, the majority of whom were Black, they called in the riot squad and set off the tear gas. And so one wonders if the community division relations officers would have stepped in and the response hadn't been using tear gas to clear the crowd in a kind of violent reaction, and clubs and nightsticks, if the rebellion in '69 could have been avoided, and if Charles Scott would have then still been with us.
Yeah, absolutely. And that the Yancey incident happened at 13th and Market, which is still sort of ground zero for poverty in the city of Harrisburg. And you are critical of the Human Relations Commission in that you say they couldn't talk their way out of inequality. And so let's talk about the sort of systemic sort of root causes of this rebellion, because that's where we just haven't made progress. When it comes to community relations, I can tell you in Harrisburg, we've just had a long debate and discussion. We've created a new division. It's called Community Services. I think the difference this time is that we have support of the leadership within the police department, sort of top down. That's going to be helpful. But let's move even beyond the police reform to the issue of how do we address the sort of structural inequalities, and what does your book teach us?
Well, I think one of the things with respect to police that was a demand among Harrisburg residents, and that the Human Relations Commission recommended, was strong civilian oversight. I mean, this was one of the complaints of the Community Relations Division, was that when residents felt like their constitutional rights had been violated by officers, or they had been brutalized by officers, there was kind of no recourse. There was no place to go. So having kind of a strong community control and partnership over public safety mechanisms, I think, is really important. I mean, part of what I hope the book will do, and what we are beginning to do as a nation, is to think differently about how we define public safety, and how, as communities have long demanded, public safety authorities can be ceded to residents themselves. I think that's like one major thing with respect to crime control, as we call it. And then, of course, we need massive, my research shows the ways in which in the post-civil rights period, we've allocated hundreds of millions of dollars to police and prisons and surveillance. And, this hasn't, in many communities, in some of the most vulnerable communities that still suffer from high rates of gun violence, this hasn't fostered public safety. And so now I think it's time to make a new set of investments into the kind of socioeconomic issues and the demands that residents themselves made when they rebelled. As I said at the outset of our conversation, job creation programs. We need more robust and well-resourced public schools, not just in the suburbs, but in low-income urban areas as well. And everybody should have access to healthcare and a decent place to live, that where roaches and rats and vermin aren't running around, and to really feel like they are included and a part and first-class citizens within our society. I think those are the demands of the civil rights movement more broadly, the demands that came up during the rebellions, and it's still an unfinished promise, I think, of American founding values that today, more than ever, it is presently urgent that we begin to move towards realizing.
Well, thank you so much, Professor Hinton. You're absolutely right. I encourage everyone to pick up a copy of this book, America on Fire. It tells us a lot, not only about Harrisburg, but about the nation. Imagine if we had been quicker to learn the lessons of the rebellions of '68, '69, and how our history might have been different over the past generation. It's been wonderful talking to you. And again, I hope people will tune in this Tuesday, May 18th, Election Day at 6 o'clock for a virtual conversation sponsored by Haymarket Books that will be the official book release launch for America on Fire. It's free, and you can also order a signed copy of this great book. Thank you.